extend a warm welcome to all our distinguished speakers, participants, and guests who have joined us for this pre-convention webinar. The Association of Indian Management Schools, AIMS, established in 1988, is one of the largest networks of management institutions in the world, representing over 700 premier business schools. Over the years, AIMS has been at the forefront of strengthening management education, promoting research, driving curriculum innovation, and supporting quality assurance across institutions in India. As you all might be aware, the AIMS National Convention will be held from 11th to 13th December 2025. And this time, the eastern region of AIMS will have the privilege of hosting it at SUA University, Bhubaneswar. The central theme, Management Education, India at the rate 2047, Shaping the Future, resonates with the nation's aspirations as it prepares to mark a century of independence. This convention will serve as a dynamic platform, bringing together academicians, policymakers, industry leaders, and researchers to reimagine the landscape of management education with an emphasis on innovation, inclusivity, and global competitiveness. The 36th convention is structured around 10 vital sub-themes that will guide deliberations. The first sub-theme being nurturing entrepreneurial mindset, roles of business schools in creating an ecosystem for innovation, rethinking faculty research, prioritizing impact and excellence. The third being enhancing academic excellence through quality assurance and outcome assessment. The fourth sub-theme is internationalization of education, challenges and prospects for management institutions in India. The fifth is the future of management education, harnessing AI for innovation. Sixth one being mindful learning, promoting student engagement and well-being. The seventh one is transforming management education, the power of innovative pedagogy. The eighth sub-theme is shaping the future, talent development strategies for India at the rate 2047. The ninth sub-theme is mental health and wellness. And the 10th being NEP 2020 pathways for management education. As a prelude to the annual convention, AIMS has planned a series of knowledge sharing pre-convention webinars across the months of September and October 2025. This is for the first time AIMS is conducting such webinar series. Each session will focus on one of these 10 sub-themes hosted by different regional chapters of AIMS on a rotational basis. Today's session marks the first sub-theme deliberation focusing on enhancing academic excellence through quality assurance and outcome assessment. We are truly honored to have with us two very eminent speakers who bring with them a wealth of experience and knowledge to enrich today's deliberation on enhancing academic excellence through quality assurance and outcome assessment. Our first esteemed speaker is Mr. Debabrata Samadar, Professor of Practice and Leadership Coach. Mr. Samadar is a graduate in Mechanical Engineering from Jadavpur University and a postgraduate in Management from IIM Kolkata, with further specialized training from Cambridge University, UK, and Harvard University, USA. He has held senior leadership positions across ferrous, non-ferrous, and auto ancillary industries during a career spanning over 35 years. Currently, he is associated as a professor of practice with two leading business schools in India and is also a certified professional executive and life coach deeply engaged in leadership training. It's really a privilege to have him with us today, sir. Our next distinguished speaker is Professor Subhanand, Associate Dean at ICFI Business School, Kolkata. Professor Dey has been with IBS Kolkata for the past 6 years, teaching marketing management, retail management, product management, services marketing, and brand management. He was recognized with the Best Faculty Award at IBS Kolkata for the academic year 21-22. Prior to his academic journey, Professor Dey gained 11 years of corporate experience across retail, travel, and media industries. A very passionate researcher with several publications, including Scopus Index journals. Professor Dey holds a master's in science from University of Kolkata and a PGPRM from IISWBN. We warmly welcome Professor Dey. Ladies and gentlemen, quality assurance and measurable learning outcomes are the heart of academic excellence. In the context of India's aspirations for Bikasit Bharat at the rate 2047, management education institutions play a crucial role in shaping competent, ethical, and future ready leaders. This session will help us deliberate on strategies, framework, and best practices that institutions can adopt for quality enhancements. Before hearing to our resource persons, may I now request Professor Ramakanta Patra, the National President, Association of Indian Management Schools, AIMS, to please initiate this session. Professor Patra, sir.
Thank you, madam. Very good afternoon. Very good afternoon to all the respected speakers, faculty members, students, and all the delegates from various parts of the country. And I thank you, the Professor Ajay Pathak, for taking the initiative to build the gate, means first webinar to host by West Bengal chapter. And thank you very much for taking the lead. And I will not take too much time because time is very limited. I will tell you something about the AIMS. As you all know, AIMS is a non-profit making only networking body in India who is having or representing around 700 members. And we are concerned about the holistic development and growth of the faculty and the students of the member institutions. And we organize and sponsor a lot of faculty development program, management development program, student development program, national conference, international conference, seminars, and industry programs for our member institutions. So, and this year, it is the privilege of Eastern region, AIMS Eastern region, to get their president, and it is the norm of this AIMS that whosoever becomes the president in his or her zone, the national convention used to take place. So this year, the AIMS National Convention is going to be held in Bhubaneswar, and venue is the SOA University, as Madam has already explained, 11 to 13th of December 2025. And this is a flagship program. And for this purpose, we have decided, considering all these aspects and ongoing trends and upheaval in the management education, we have decided the theme as Management Education India at the rate of 2047, Shaping the Future. And to give importance and more mileage to this theme, we have decided 10 sub-themes. This is not a very traditional or conventional sub-themes. Very methodically, we have decided these sub-themes so that, and pre-convention, we are dividing these sub-themes among the regions. Each region has almost got 2 webinars on sub-themes which have been given to them. So this time, Eastern region have got 3 sub-themes. So this is first something webinar is going to be held today, and next will be followed. Date has been already given, time has already been given. So I was expecting that some more participants in this webinar. But anyway, this is the beginning. So my request to all the faculty members will be that circulate maximum among your students and the faculty members, research scholars, so that they can participate in large number. So this is a matter of prestige issue for the eastern region as well as the challenge for all of us to prove this. And second thing, out of these sub-themes, we have already launched our conventional brochure, and you can find lot of competitions, lot of awards are there. So you can encourage your faculty members, students, and the research scholars. They can participate in these competitions, and the three levels the competitions are going to be conducted. First, it will be on chapter level, and after clearing the chapter level competition, then it will be going to regional level, and who will be scrutinized through the regional committees. They will be going to national level at Bhubaneswar during the convention. So this is totally on sub themes, and sorry, different themes have been given for the best teacher award, best case study award, management week award, the Ravi J. Mathai award. So lot of such awards are there. My request to all of you that please circulate among your students, faculty members, and motivate them, encourage them to participate. So this is all about aims. I am not going to take more time because we all are waiting to listen from our renowned speakers today. And only one thing I like to tell you before I conclude, that today's webinar topic is enhancing academic excellence through quality assurance and outcome assessments. I think all of you are aware that only last week or so, NBA has come out with the changed, revised format of accreditation. The format speaks about only outcome based learning. Okay, so previously we were having lot of COs, POs, and these COs, POs are getting obsolete because lot of challenges are coming. And you all are aware that we are living in a transition, management education living in a transition. Why? Because domestically we were competing with each other. Now, 16 foreign universities have started their campus in India. So now we have to compete with them also. So naturally, the quality has to be improved. Unless we develop, improve in terms of quality, then only one slogan: perish or perform. This is the slogan going to be in the 21st century. We have to perform because students want quality, industry wants quality, and we have to make a collaborative learning, tie up, industry visit, workshops, all these things. We need to be very careful, make a strategy so that we are in a position to manage our institutions by maintaining the quality parameters, quality standards. I am not going to take more time. Once again, thank you, the host chapter, Kolkata West Bengal chapter, and renowned speakers are there. Professor Samaddar and Professor De, both are very renowned in their respective fields. So I am sure that all of you will enjoy. And if you have any question, any query, there will be a session also allotted for this question answer. So you please uh, ask your questions and query. And second thing, we are having these 10 webinars on 10 themes. It is not limited to any region. It is pan-India. Anybody can participate because I was going through one Western region. Ahmedabad chapter is organizing their webinar on 5th of this September. And they have hired two professors from IIM Ahmedabad as a resource person. So like this, it is going to very quality program we are going to organize. So once again, thank you very much. And I must thank our engineer Saroj Kumar Sahu, who is the mastermind for designing this webinar. So thank you once again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, may I request Mr. Devabrata Samadar, please take over and continue with the session.
Thank you, Dr. Pragyan. And thank you, Dr. Patra, for your insightful talk which you have given. After all, you are an academician, which I am not. So there's a lot of things to learn from you. And my sincerest thanks to Dr. Ajay Pathak and Professor Shahu, who actually will be hosting the next All India seminar in Bhubaneswar. So all the best, Professor Sahu, for your great organizing and the wonderful uh, session which you'll be conducting there. I I am also happy that there are a lot of participants are there across, and my sincerest thanks to all the faculty members from different management schools. And also, I am not sure whether students are also there. AIMS also has a lot of student organizations there. I'll tell you something very briefly about my journey for 1 minute, and then I will come to the subject which will be of relevance here. Unlike the professors here, I never started my journey as a professor actually. For 30 years, I worked in a company of Tata Group, and then I chose to be in academics post retirement, which happened a couple of years back. And now I am professor of practice in a couple of institutions in Kolkata, and also I'm guest lecturers for several other institutions across India. So I see this particular subject more from the point of an external, watcher or external viewer, where we see exactly that how this quality assurance really makes a mark in Indian education system, particularly in the higher education and management education. I give a small example to start with. Uh, what is quality assurance and why it is required or why it is not required at all? If you are producing quality all the time, then what is the requirement of assurance? So probably there is a doubt that the quality is not being produced all the time, and that's why the assurance is required. I give an example of a company, Toyota, automobile company, where we used to supply steel. And Toyota said that we don't maintain quality here. Quality is maintained at our vendor's place. Means if you are supplying steel, it is your job and responsibility to supply quality steel all the time without any fail, with improvement completely documented to us, and we will use that steel without inspection. We will use that quality steel without inspection, so that would be quality. And if anything happens, so they have rank A, rank B, rank C defect, where rank A is of the highest defect, which basically talks about the safety of the passenger in the car. When the rank A happens, the vendor's managing director has to come and meet the quality persons of Toyota and give an assurance that henceforth nothing should happen. So what it means is that they try to build up a system where quality is assured all the time. So that ecosystem is made in such a way that it never fails. And if it fails, there's a huge amount of process which analyzes why the quality has failed. So coming back to academics, I have been teaching for the last 2.5 years to a group of students from different walks of life, and I have taken several interest areas to know exactly that why the quality differs from one institute to another institute. So typically, let us have summarize quality, because I have, I think, around 15-20 minutes to talk. So this is a huge subject. I will talk about some precise experience what I have and what are the things which can be done on a global perspective, because now India is not an alienated nation. India is completely linked to the global field. It also has a link with the global educational institutions. Professor Patra has just maintained 61 the global institutions have shown interest to come to India. So quality basically from a perspective is that what the stakeholders can get. That's very important. What the transformation the stakeholders can get, and it is consistency and perfection all the time. Consistency and perfection all the time, not once or twice. I give an example of quality in airplane. When the fuel is actually filled in the airplane, there should not be any moisture in the fuel, the aviation fuel. If there's a little moisture, then what happens is when the flight is above 30,000 feet, then the small moisture drop can freeze to uh, an ice particle, and it can clog the fuel line, resulting in a huge accident, deadly accident. So, important thing is that there cannot be failure for aviation fuel fueling in an aircraft. Similarly, there cannot be a failure when anesthetist gives you the anesthesia before operation. You cannot wake up when the operation is on. You cannot continue to sleep after the operation is over. So there is 101% assurance of quality. So coming back to the other two aspects, it is fitness for purpose. That's very important. What is the purpose? And value for money. It's at the end of the day, if you are paying quality at a high price, then it has no value at the end of the day. Now, coming back to educational institutions, all of you are professors, or most of you are, and you are aware that the National Education Policy 2020 has laid down the foundation, or for a paradigm shift of quality. In India, as I see, is that we have few accreditation boards and few assessment councils. So we have NAC, which is National Assessment and Accreditation Council, which is under UGC. And then we have National Board of Accreditation, which is a separate one, under AICT perhaps. Then we have other few accreditations, which is there. But the point is that how do we ensure that quality is there for all the educational institutions? The challenges are huge. If you see the statistics, there are 15,000 colleges across India. There are 62 universities. There are 11 open universities. And there are 300 plus other universities also. So that means it is a huge challenge for a single accreditation body to take care of all this. So obviously there would be a problem. NBA and NAC, they have two different objectives. While as I am seeing it, NBA talks about the outcome based uh, program. In fact, if you are generally devising a program, then NBA comes into existence. But then NAC actually takes care of the holistic approach for assessing and accrediting one particular educational institution. But the more important thing is, where is the industry academic connect? When I come from an industry, the most important point is when people go through MBA training, that means MBA courses, uh, are they employable? That is very important. Where is this assessment which happens? How many times you see that the team of people from those NAC and NBA are listening to the industry people? Now, I know exactly in IITs and IIMs, particularly in IITs, the board of governors basically consists of industry stalwarts. Primarily, they are industry leaders and captains, and they adorn that particular position. But in NAC and in NBA, I am not sure. Many of you possibly would be knowing it, but I do know that there are several eminent professors and eminent personalities of distinguished career who actually govern the process there. But what I find is, for the last 2 years, which I am teaching 3 4 subjects, and I find that the industry academia connect, is something which has a huge deficit, and that can be told that both are responsible. I give one example very quickly. When I attended a course in Harvard University, for 5 days we had it was an executive development program for Harvard University, and organized by the Tata Group, of course. And for 5 days, it was a residential course. We had to undergo 30 case studies. 5 days, 30 case studies, and every day we retired to our quarter or lodge and get got ready for the next day's course. So 30 case studies. And if you go to Harvard University, and when I was talking to their professors, they said that we are 24 by 7 immersive educational institution. We are 24 by 7 immersive management educational institution. So it is not that for 8 hours. I was trying to, start this case studies in colleges, and I found that there is a huge amount of disinterest. And I use the word with responsibility from the part of the industry, not from the academics, that to share the data, to come out with a very, let's say, practical problem which can be dealt in deep cases by the professors of that particular subject matter, and they can develop a case study, as a result of which, if you don't see a very practical and very realistic case study, then obviously the quality suffers. So that is where the problem is. What are we trying to achieve is something which we have to know. I think Professor, they will touch upon that subject of learning outcomes. So there are intended learning outcomes, there are expected learning outcomes, and there are actual or achieved learning outcomes. So there are three, four. So all these are very important to take home those feedback, and at the end of the day, come back to the drawing board and see that what best can be done. There are 10 million students of higher education in India, and 5 lakh professors who are attached to these institutions. So you can understand that if the quality has to be assured, there has to be an overarching umbrella, an organization who can get into this nitty gritty there. So it is very important that this every degree which an institution, particularly the management institution, gives, it has a lot of value. It is not just simply a paper, or simply an occasion where you get a degree. That particular person, whoever is passing out, should create a mark and should add value to the society, which means the industry. If industry doesn't acknowledge that, then particular, this degree doesn't have that required value which is there. It is something like a recently passed doctor, MBBS or MD or MS, he goes into an operation theater and finds that it is difficult for him or her to operate the patient, because he or she is not abundantly uh, confident to open up the abdomen of the patient and do the operation, because during the time of their studies for 6 years or 7 years, things have not happened. He has not been taught that way. I was told that earlier dissection happened in medical colleges. Now the dissection doesn't happen. That means an MBBS graduate passes out without dissecting a dead body. So it is very difficult. Somebody else dissects. And then that particular person who is a demonstrator, he shows to all the medical students, here is stomach, here is kidney, here is abdomen, and all this. So it is very difficult for that pass out student to actually do the operation when the real life thing happens. So it is extremely important that this quality assurance, in whatever form it is, in the management education, it needs to be driven down in real earnest. And it is an ever changing situation, ever changing scenario in India. We now are global. If we cannot perform, as Professor Patro has so rightly said, that performance, two P's are there: performance, perish, There can be another P, which is perennially perish. And if you perennially perish, then you can never get up again. I was going through the best practices of the global institutions like Harvard Business School, INSEAD of France, Stanford, even our educational institute, NSU, which is National Singapore University. They have their own quality assurance because it is important for the country and the nation to have a very robust quality assurance, no doubt about it. France has a very robust quality assurance under the umbrella of European Quality Assurance Register, which is good. But then an an ambitious education institution who wants to excel needs to have their own educational quality assurance all the time. Otherwise, compliance is not the route to success anymore. Please understand, compliance is not the guarantee of success now. It is beyond compliance is the guarantee of success. So if we say that I am ISO 9000 university, I am NAAC, that means NAC A or NAC A plus or A plus plus university, it is good. It is good to have a good number of students enrolling and you will have a good name there. But at the end of the day, your products are your students. If those students are accepted by the customers, it means by the industry, then you are successful. So that's why it is a continuously changing dynamics. What one has taught 5 years back has to be revisited and has to be redesigned so that a new particular course can be introduced, particularly in this changing scenario of AI and ML, where we have AI in marketing, AI as an ethics. That's very paramount importance for looking back and doing these things. Those who are under university, let's say under certain universities, they guide the syllabus. There are certain degree of rigidness is there. You can't change too often. Those who are autonomous colleges or universities, they have a little bit of a flexibility there. Those who are autonomous universities, they have a lot of flexibilities there. But at the end of the day, the proof of the pudding is just in the eating. What it means is the industry must salute the quality of the students and give the certificate. Yes, the quality which the education institutions are practicing is the best. So I stop here, and once Professor Day makes his points, I'll come back. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Definitely, I think our participants will be having lots of questions, so we can take up questions after Professor Day's session. May I now request our next speaker, Professor Subhanand Day, to kindly share his insights with us. Professor Day, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Firstly, let me take this opportunity to thank Dr. Ajay Pathak. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much, Dr. Patro, for setting the tone of today's theme on a very nice note. Thank you, Dr. Pragyan, once again for that wonderful introduction from your end and the introductory note from your end. And as I've been listening to Professor Shomadar in the last few odd minutes, wherein he's covered a lot on the macro aspect of academic excellence, quality assurance, and outcome-based education. I'll take forward from where he actually left and try and bring in a separate aspect, both at the macro and at the micro level of the same. And having said so, I do have a deck prepared, so I know all of us are able to connect to this a little in a better fashion. So let me share my screen with all of you here. And as this goes, I'll have a quick introduction regarding the session, although, Professor Shomadar has been excellent in his deliberation in the last few odd minutes. Having said so, higher education today actually faces a lot of pressure from globalization, and with the technology and the employability needs in particular in place. So I think a lot has been spoken already. But yes, why the quality assurance matters. Number one, to ensure the consistency and the credibility of the academic programs that we run. So, are we actually teaching the students what they need to learn in exact specifics? And if I may quote what the industry needs, are we actually creating industry ready individuals from the management institutions in place, while also keeping the accrediting agencies and their requirements in particularly in question? And today's topic specifically talks about the role of outcome assessment and measures what the students can actually do after having the learning experience in place. So here, as a matter of fact, the teachers have a lot to do, or the faculty members have a lot to do. And given the changing dynamics of today's world, with the uh, artificial intelligence and machine learning coming into place, how do we take things forward? Specifically, can we adapt to outcome assessment that is worthy of the day today? No more are the same practices which was going on maybe 5 years back, still in practice today. So changes in pedagogy, in curriculum is definitely needed to skill up the ante in terms of employability in place. And therefore, if we are able to do that, possibly it'll enable the institutions to identify the gaps and continuously improve in place. Now, having said so, I'll just refer to a quick paper. Now, this paper was from Banning in 2005. He came out with the same. Now, as a matter of fact, as faculty members, we possibly have that small lesson plan in place, and we talk about the traditional method of teaching, wherein the lesson plan is ready and the faculty members knows exactly what is going to be delivered across or is to be delivered across in that particular class through to the students. And therefore, the traditional approach, we go across to the classes and we teach across our students as per the plan. Now, what happens is that particular thing probably is getting questioned to the way, we have been teaching in the classes are getting questioned today. And the answer to the same probably lies in the other two methodologies of teaching, or probably the pedagogical changes which might lead to the outcome based education, the topic of the day today. So, what are we talking about? We are talking about first about a Socratic method. Socrates never went to a class with a particular lesson plan or with a particular sheet of paper in hand. The only thing that he did was make the question, make a question to the particular kind of student in place, and let the student mull over and think over that particular question and answer. And Socrates never actually came out with his answers in place. His only way of teaching was question, question, and question. And through that, it is the responsibility of the student to actually gather the answers themselves. And as Swami Vivekananda has said, that education is already a manifestation of the perfection in man. And possibly, yes, here is where Socrates had gone across and questioned these people, the students in place, and the answers came all by themselves. But having said so, and even a further extension to the Socratic method is what we are talking about as the facilitative mode of learning, wherein the learning moves towards a self-directed learning and the students are encouraged to become independent learners by the academic or by the facilitator here. And of course, when you're talking about today, the 21st century skill, and about the changing pedagogies and the outcome-based learning and assessment in place, possibly what we need to do is that go across through to the students with their personal communication devices, because of course we cannot discount the fact that learning today is much technology involved, because we are teaching a group of cohort or a generation which has been brought up with the technology in hand, with the smartphone in hands. And unlike us, the teachers who have been digital immigrants, the ones who are teaching are actually digital natives. So therefore, what happens is, can we actually take a 360 turn in the way in which we are teaching and go across and help the students to acquire the new skills of information sharing, and the existence of possibly the traditional methods of teaching are under threat. And most teachers actually perceive that the mobile actually undermines their authority, which the paper has actually written. So in tune with that small paper, what are we talking about today here? It's the traditional versus the outcome-based education. So in lucid terms, the traditional education focuses on what the teacher teaches, as I talked about a while back, and the didactic method of teaching. And the main question there is, did I cover the syllabus? So the syllabus is prescribed. And yes, as per what the syllabus is prescribed, is it a tick mark? And yes, I've covered across the syllabus in the class in place. On the other hand, the outcome-based education is focusing on what the student learns and what he can do after the learning in place. So again, in lucid terms, the main question here is, what are the skills and the abilities will students leave with? So that is what we are answering, or we are trying to answer today. And before we even try and answer that in place, let us have a quick glimpse of what the learners of today are. So these people are the digital natives and the tech savvy people. We are talking about them being pragmatic and realistic in nature. So unlike them being spoon-fed across with the normal theoretical lectures in place, possibly they're going to question us. And there's a lot of room for information, and there's no information asymmetry at all, given the fact that all the generative AI kind of stuff is available to them, as well as the Google is available to them. So therefore, they're of course realistic in their expectations as to what they are expecting in place. They're socially conscious and they're inclusive, entrepreneurial and independent. And a study by AC Nielsen actually suggests that this cohort that we are teaching now is actually going to be multitaskers in place, and maybe many of them, while they are being job seekers, there are a lot many of them who would be job givers as well. So it is our responsibility at the end of the day to create that skill within themselves so that they also get into a job giving role if they actually seek to do in due course of time. We are talking about a collaborative as well as an individualistic kind of a teaching. So might seem like a kind of an oxymoron, but all said and done, yes, these people would love to collaborate with people. They love working in teams, and therefore possibly a peer-to-peer learning is what they expect. And even when they go across to the corporate world, I think Professor Shomadar was mentioning at that point of time that yes, are they actually gaining the skills which the industry needs? And yes, the industry definitely needs collaborative work, but at the same point of time, they also need across an individual kind of a brilliance out there, because we expect some leaders to be fascinatingly come out while they do across the collaborative job as well. Yes, they do value authenticity and transparency, and they do keep a global perspective in place. I leave across here with a small food for thought. Which is the generation that we are talking about here? Let's quickly look at this small video.
Sound is not there, just check it up.
Sir, I'll quickly check, just a minute.
Yeah, just you show that.
Yeah.
Sound is not coming.
Zach, Sammy, Annabelle, and people are covered by more.
Sir, is it fine now?
Better, yeah, start off.
Just that title. Gen Z is the next wave, and turns out there's quite a bit that makes them uniquely them. The new kids on the block, or in your office, aren't just millennials anymore.
But I feel like, for me, like millennials are grown-ups.
The freshest faces are those of Generation Z, while millennials are roughly defined by being born between 1981 and 1995. Those dubbed Gen Z were born from 1996 on, with the oldest of them now in their early 20s. But it's more than just their birth years that set these two generations apart. We went straight to the source and talked to Zach, Sammy, Annabelle, and Emily, who we found the Gen Z way on Snapchat.
What do you think makes Gen Z Gen Z?
I think it's internet engagement.
We were born with it, so we don't really know a world without it, really.
While most millennials can remember life before smartphones and social media, Gen Z has never known a world without the internet in their pocket.
Literally, our friend group at school primarily communicates through Snapchat.
These platforms have caused Gen Zers to see the job market in a new way.
What does success mean to you guys now?
People in our generation are really looking for is success in the way of living on your own terms.
That means looking to social media platforms for viable career opportunities, causing some to think about education differently.
Do you guys think that given social media opportunities that going to college is necessary anymore?
I really think that we're like moving towards a time where a degree isn't necessarily important.
They multitask with ease. Their digital fluency allows them to take on a lot at once, sometimes coming across as unfocused. They say it's focus, the Gen Z way.
Never on really one social media at a time. You're always on Snapchat, like you want to go see what's happening on Instagram, and then, oh, someone's texting me on WhatsApp.
Short attention spans mean trends evolve fast.
So when your parents find out about it is about the time that we're on the downhill.
As soon as it leaves the generation, then it's like, okay, they're too old for us. Like, it's not cool anymore.
Access to social media and technology has made Gen Z more global.
We're the first generation that's really grown up with the tools that make us able to connect with anybody across the world with the click of a button.
Nick, Jane, Ziad Ahmed, and Shaina Zafar, all under 20, founded and run a consulting firm, helping Fortune 500 companies and startups alike reach Gen Z successfully. Cole Maddox runs a hedge fund from his dorm room. They want you to know they're ready for a seat at the table, especially since Gen Z is now the largest percentage of the population at over 25% and represents up to $143 billion in buying power.
We're positioned, right, to overtake millennials as the largest generation by the end of 2019. But if you don't start working with us now, and you're gonna miss the boat.
And don't underestimate what else they're up to on their phones.
So give me a short answer to older people saying to you guys, you're just always on your phone.
You have no idea what I'm doing. We're not just sitting on our phone ignoring the world around us. We're sitting on the phone interacting with hundreds of people.
This generation wants you to know just because they care about followers doesn't mean they don't care about friendships, and doesn't mean they're disconnected from what happens in the world.
We as a generation, we're so diverse. We're also the most inclusive generation. Like, we know as a generation what we want to see in our leaders.
Young people have always been standing up for things, always been disrupting the status quo, always been rewriting trends. But what's unique about our generation is that the tools that we have access to allow for these disruptions to become mainstream.
So yes, if you would have looked at the video out there very, very carefully, so it was talked about that, they are multitasking in place at the same point of time, you do not have any idea as to what we are doing. So we are multitasking in place. So what we are trying to do is, in terms of the academic quality, can we look at a curriculum design and relevance, which is more attuned towards Gen Z in place? Can we look towards a different kind of a teaching learning practice and an assessment and an evaluation method, which is in line to deliver across to Gen Z in place? Of course, research and innovation, because without which, we cannot possibly create across the kind of content which they would be requiring. And of course, last but no way the least, the students' support and progression in due course of time. And having said so, with the last slide in place, a small model out here, which is very, very pertinent again, with what Professor Shaumadar was already speaking about a while back. So here, when we are talking about the KS and the A model, so here the knowledge, which is about the imparting of the basic theories and the information, the facts and figures, which is absolutely out there. So is it just the knowledge which is important? Or, as the KSA model suggests, a lot of it into the skills part of it? And while we talk about the skills part of it, it is about the hard skills and the soft skills taken together. While yes, in the four walls of the classroom, it is absolutely fine that we go across with a kind of a theoretical lecture, but can we just also take a step forward and teach them how do they go across developing their personalities in place? How do they possibly develop the softer skills in which possibly a body language, a better body language, a better kind of an answer of how to deal across with peers? Possibly how do we answer, when your colleague asks for something, or possibly a pressure situation when your boss has given you a very, very kind of a stress deadline and you're possibly going to miss it in place. So I think a lot was talked about when Professor Shomadar was speaking, and he spoke about the case-based learnings in place, which of course are practical examples, are kind of the blend of the storytelling in place, which is very, very much necessary for our students in place. And can we ensure that yes, although they might not be liking a longish kind of case study in place, can we ensure, as a matter of fact, that with the short kind of case studies, can we put them can we put that there in place, and can we make them come out reading it, maybe beyond the classroom, and can we just put across some kind of an analytical questions while they're in the class, and maybe develop some kind of a thought process within them, which we are talking about as the kind of the higher order thinking skills in place. So therefore, that's the big thing in terms of the skills that they're gaining, possibly both the harder skills, which is the kind of knowledge which the industry body would be requiring. And while, as management colleges, we all aim to place across our students in the corporate world, are we delivering across the correct kind of methodology for the hard skills? And also, are we developing those personality skills which will help them specifically in the softer skills also? So that is this model, the brilliance of this model. And while we talk about the knowledge and the skill getting imparted, ultimately, it is the attitude and of course the self-motivation, the self-confidence, the integrity, the honesty, everything in place taken together, which can lead across to a holistic development of the individual in place. But having said so, the big part is therefore here is what I'm referring to in kind of the outcome-based education. It's not about the passive learning. It's about the active learning that possibly will help across in our curriculum alignment in a much better manner. If you look at the screen on the right hand side, 10% people remember of what they read, 20% of what they hear, 30% of what they see, 50% of what they see and hear. But look at the whooping kind of 70% of what they say and write, and 90% of what they do. And that is what we are talking about as the active learning here. And I'll again refer to one small paper of Jewett 2006, when he talks about that, to address the technophiles or the I generation in place, it is a brilliant approach to possibly go ahead with the kind of teaching methodology in the class, which will help across to analyze, define, create, and evaluate. And therefore, what we are talking about is, again, possibly the root of a case-based learning out there. So give them across the case-based learning, give them across the case, give them the theory also, and make them learn the theory also. But at the end of the day, question them in terms of what have they learned across through the case study. Pose them questions, analytical questions, and only pose that possibly they will be able to engage in a much better manner with the kind of the curriculum that we are speaking about. So here, in the kind of traditional education, just to summarize, it focuses on the inputs, which is the syllabus coverage, teaching hours, content delivery in place. Emphasis is more on what the teacher teaches, and the assessment is mainly through the final exams and through memory and reproduction in place. While we are talking about your outcome-based education, it is more about the skills, the knowledge, and the attitudes that the students demonstrate. And emphasis, of course, is on what the student learns and applies. And here you will quickly relate to what also I think has been discussed is we cannot have a one-size-fits-all approach for our students in place in the outcome-based education. Firstly, we got to understand that what are the exact specific lacunae or the lack of understanding specifically with the specific set of students that are there in place. So not all students are of equal kind of caliber. And if I may quickly talk across about the hard skills on the y-axis and the soft skills on the x-axis in place, there'll be some who are brilliant both in the hard skills as well as in the soft skills in place. And possibly here, as faculty members, we got to put across the least amount of effort behind this group of people. But when it comes across to number two, let's take, for example, when your soft skills are high, but your hard skills are low, which means that here in this case, you got to prep up the student in terms of telling them that, hey, you're lacking the basic skills in terms of understanding. But no wonder that the corporate world wants such kind of people, because these are the people who have an attitude that they are going to take up something new. Given a tough task, they are optimistic enough not to challenge across the higher authority. And at the same point of time, when you give across a peer-to-peer job, they are more accommodative in getting things done. And therefore, there's no problems at all in terms of the soft skill is what we are talking about here. But it is only that they have to be made careful of the fact that, yes, they got to spend across a little more time in honing across their hard skills in place. But on the other way around, if the hard skills are high, but the soft skills are low, this is where is possibly the red zone coming into place. And we talk about maybe, our syllabus, our curriculum, and a particular group of students doing brilliantly fine in terms of reading across stuff and committing to memory and vomiting to paper, and that's absolutely fine. But are they the ones whom the industry wants? Possibly a question mark. Because when put through to a tough time, they possibly won't be able to perform. And these are the ones who perish. So therefore, as faculty members, of course, it is a greater task for us to understand this kind of a group of people, specifically group 3, which is, we got to impart the softer skills to them so that at the end of the day, their outcome becomes much better. Of course, last but no way the least, zone number 4, which is, of course, a red zone for us. And our task of teaching to this group of students is absolutely, absolutely most important. We got to spend across possibly the most amount of time behind these students in place, wherein their hard skills and soft skills are low, and therefore we got to inculcate and imbibe both in them in a proper manner. Having talked about that, therefore, and again, in terms of the employability, which is after teaching them across, are they good enough to gain across an employability in place? So what are we talking about here? We are talking about the business skills as well as we are talking about the technical skills in place. So therefore, the critical thinking, cognitive flexibility, the adaptive thinking ability, the complex problem solving skills, the qualitative skills, the communication skills, all these things actually are required. And we got to frame across some kind of assessments so that these skills also get a proper kind of an outlet in place. And we are able to assess that, yes, students are doing fine on these aspects. And at the same point of time, the technical skills too, in terms of maybe, this paper of Industry 4.0 by Aminul Islam talks about maybe, the programming skills, the quantitative skills, the DI, the DV, and the virtual collaboration skills in place. So all taken together, some kind of an assessments in place, like real world problem, which can be sourced directly from the industry. And we talk about like our college in place, wherein we have a lot of impetus on the live projects, on mini projects, specifically SIPs or the summer internship projects in place. And through a 14-week kind of a program, they go across rigorously to the corporate world and try and understand, work on particular problems, try and understand how the industry gels across with the academia in place. So at that point of time, possibly the bridge between the academia and the industry gets built up. But again, question mark remains as to whether all have imbibed in a correct manner. So therefore, a lot of impetus has to be put across on the projects, on the job learnings in place, so that at the end of the day, the problem solving, the critical thinking skills come out fine, the domain knowledge is improved, the technical fluency works out fine, and we are able to improve, of course, the teamwork, the project management, and the communication, because those are the specific requirements which the corporate world demands. And we build across an industry exposure and the portfolio for their particular interviews also in place. So I think I'll stop there, as a matter of fact, with these small thoughts in place, because at the end of the day, if you are able to assess our students on these particular pertinent pointers, I think they should be fair enough in terms of the outcome-based education and assessment that we are particularly talking about. So thank you so much, everyone, for giving me a patient listening. And I'll revert back to Dr. Pragyan again, and I'll be most happy to take in the questions, if
Yes,
any,
sir.
from the audience.
Thanks a lot, sir. It was really very resourceful. Now we can invite some questions from our participants. There is one question from Pooja Sahu. Pooja Sahu, if you can unmute yourself and ask the question. She has mentioned her question in the chat box also, but I'm unable to get her question. I have already in MBA economics. So can we do? So actually, I'm unable to understand her question.
Thank you, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, please.
Ma'am, my question is, currently now I am pursuing MA Economics in Utkal University. How, at the present time, on current time, how can I improve my quality now so that after finishing my MA Economics, so I can join some industry or get earnings?
So Professor Samadar, would you like to take up this question?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting
Yes.
question, and this is a natural question which should come to the student's mind. I know there are several MA economic students who actually look for job immediately after passing out the postgraduate studies. And there are certain universities and institutions who do offer placement service also. One of them is Yadav University, and I know few of my relatives also who got jobs and placed in big five consultancy companies. So it all depends on what actually the college actually where Miss Pooja is coming from. Do they have any the placement services? Because some of the colleges do tie up with some place some organizations. If they don't have, then obviously there are chances that somebody has to fend for themselves, so they have to be, as we discussed in the last 15 minutes or so, that how employable one is. And there are see, always in India it is difficult to get jobs singularly with singular effort, okay, in spite of having adequate qualification. But when there's institutional support is there in the form of this placement services, it is easier. I have seen that, and I'm still seeing now that institutional support is very much required. So I would request Ms. Pooja that please see that how good your placement service is, and if it is there, fine, they will help you to do that. Bhubaneswar has a lot of good companies coming in, and if it is not there, then obviously you need to apply, and you better enrich your LinkedIn profile, because that is something which is very important for attracting the potential employers' attention. And next is, if you have any chance to join an MBA course, which is supposedly more producing more employable students, you are welcome to join an MBA course also. So thank you from my side.
Any other questions? I think there is no such questions from our participants. Sir, can I take this opportunity to ask the last question before?
Madam, before
Yes.
you spoke to him, I am having a question. Actually, let me introduce myself. I am actually working as the Dean Placement in Srushti Academy of Management, and also now look after the UG programs of our institute. That's a new vertical. So when we talk of the quality assurance and outcome-based education, although we have seen that there are multiple accreditation bodies for assessment of quality of educational institutions, hardly there is any assessment of the course outcomes that the institutions are having for their different courses in relation to the curriculum that is framed. So how that can be more scientifically made in terms of making the quality assessment run through in the system itself, in the institution level itself, so that before we face the accreditation, we also conduct our internal quality assurance through our AQR sale or whatever mechanism. So this is a question to Professor Day particularly.
Sure, sir. I think a wonderful question. Thank you for making my life a lot easier because, for the paucity of time, I couldn't actually share a lot of things. But since your question came up, I thought it fit that, to share one small thing out here. I hope my screen is visible to you.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah, so when we are talking about at the first place a learning outcome, so this is a teacher-centric part, and this is of course under specifically, what a teacher can do by himself or herself, or the faculty member can definitely do that at the micro level in place. So let's take for example, and since I'm a professor in marketing. So I would just like to take an example from marketing itself. So therefore, when we are talking about the learning outcome in terms of one particular session, let's take for example a consumer buying behavior. So by the end of the session, the students should be able to analyze the consumer behavior using the SOR or the stimulus organism response model in place. So while your syllabus might have suggested SOR model or might have suggested about the theory of reasoned action in place, here, therefore, at the learning outcome stage, let us quickly frame across that what can be the student's outcome at the end through the SOR model. Now, what happens next is that once you have learned across the SOR model, how does it help across in the entire course? So therefore, this consumer buying behavior is a small part in my first year marketing management course. So therefore, here, through this small example, the ability to design a customer segmentation strategy, as a matter of fact. And towards the end is the program outcome, which of course, is the think tank or the strategic think tank of the particular institute or the organization, or as per the accrediting body, whatever it is there. But this is beyond your control, as a matter of fact. So of course, although this is beyond your control in terms of the program outcome, ultimately, when we are talking about students being placeable or thought about being placeable and industry ready, are we thinking about the critical thinking, problem solving, and the ethical reasoning part in place? So during our assessment at the end of maybe the course, like for example, we are having a kind of maybe a formative and a kind of a summative examination in place. So during the summative exam itself, instead of giving a rote learning kind of a theoretical question in place, or talking about define what consumer behavior is, can we give them a small kind of a structured kind of project wherein they go across to the for a day to any kind of a consumer, ask them some particular questions in place, and through their kind of going across to the industry or to the consumers in place, can we design across an assessment and ask them to come out in the class with what their essential findings are, and only then possibly the learning outcomes would be in tune with the course outcomes, and finally the program outcomes would also be there in a perfect manner.
Means basically redesigning the examination system, examination.
Absolutely, sir.
So that's why many times we are criticized in India, our examination pattern is wrong. So probably this your presentation indicates to that.
Absolutely.
Dr. Pragya, you can go ahead with your question.
Yes. Actually, the answer of your question also has addressed my question's answer. My question was, how do we keep a balance between the academic excellence rigor as well as the requirements of meeting the accreditation. All those documentations that is required for the accreditation process, as some other sir was telling that we need to go beyond the compliance. So how can an institute strike a balance between maintaining the academic rigor as well as meeting the accreditation requirements? That was my question.
Good. I think your question was very pertinent and it adds a lot of insights to Dr. Gangadhar's question. This is a dilemma where all the academic, bodies are grappling with every day. How to strike a balance. It is like a strike a balance between your boss at home and boss at office. So there has to be a balance always. At the end of the day, without academic accreditation, an institution can't survive. So it has to, under any circumstances, accept the fact that it is born out of India, so it has to go for a NAC A or a NAC A plus and NBA certification or AICTE. That's must. But at the end of the day, if the alumni, the group who are passing out, they are eyes and ears of the institution. So you can, Harvard Business School has a very strong global alumni. So they actually keep close touch with them and find out what is the burning demand from the industry. So what is that? And they actually produce leaders. They don't produce only the job seekers. So here, what is important is that the alumni which is produced by the circle produced by your institute or any other institute like yours, they also need to be your ambassadors. So they will tell you exactly, Professor, you please add this curricula, etc. But there is always a boundary line, which I have understood after teaching for the last 2 years. If you are under university curricula, you do not have much of the freedom to play with. You can do, at the end of the day, the questions are set by finally the university at the end of the day. So you have to perform well. But then when somebody goes beyond that and becomes an autonomous institution, then a lot of freedom is there. But Professor Day has very eloquently brought out that subject, that at the end of the day, there is always a scope where you can introduce some value added, uh, courses along with the laid down syllabus, where the person who actually is getting taught, his eyes and ears are grounded, so he knows exactly the things are. So that's something which I thought may add some value to your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Subhanan and Mr. Samadar. Now, I request Professor Ajay Pathak, Director, ICFI Business School, Kolkata, and Chairman, West Bengal Chapter, to please propose the vote of thanks. But before proposing the vote of thanks, I request sir to precisely tell his own viewpoints and the key takeaways from this webinar. Professor Pathak, please.
Thank you, Dr. Pragyan. I was listening to both the speakers. I can call Mr. Samadar as Professor Samadar. Now he's Professor of Practice. And my colleague Shubhanand Dey. It has been an excellent talk. In fact, I really enjoyed it, and I noted down several points for my future talk also, because I keep on learning from the speakers. The topic was really very interesting. The point which I think Professor Samadar made was, he was talking about quality assurance in industry, and he very well brought out, how it can be linked to academics also. And this was a very crucial point. And he talked about Toyota, the way they handle quality assurance, and he talked about also as to it should be there at the vendor's level. The steel supply has to be of a good quality. And he also said that this quality differs from one business school or one institution to another institution. Why is it so? This was very well thought out. And fitness with a purpose, he also mentioned, which Dr. Patra also mentioned. And one thing which we mentioned and which we are very close to that is case studies. He mentioned that case studies are very important input for the students. And students want to learn from, from these stories. Case studies are basically situational cases whereby the students need to discuss and get a first hand on the what is happening in the industry. Professor Suvanan also, I liked all this Socrates talk, when he used to ask questions. In fact, my class is also a part of Socrates, because I keep on asking questions and giving them a lot of thoughts about how to answer these specific questions. And questions, and the students keep on giving me answers. Some fail, some do it, and all silly questions are there. But my late founder used to say there's nothing like silly question. Every question is a good question. In fact, silly questions come out with great ideas in this world. Then also this case is very close to us. In fact, we are part of institution, a great institution, ICFI Business School. And we believe that case studies are really very important. Knowledge, skills, and attitude. I always tell my students to have their expectations more than, the skills should be more than their expectations. Because if skills are more, you will get an employment. And IBS believes in 100% employment. IBS believes that each and every student, despite their deficits, are placeable. And case studies, it's a cornerstone for our success because we are the second largest contributor after Harvard Business School. And one thing I would like to mention all about, talks were there, but basically one thing is really very important is employability. I have been to various CIA conference. I don't see colleges there as one of the members. Colleges are not there. So if you don't go to CIA, you will not get industry connect. Industry networking happens there. And we have been doing that for several years. I can tell you surely that this is very, very important. And point which was raised by Dr. Gangadhar was, about employability, ensuring compliance and everything. And how do you go ahead? See, we have designed assessments for each and every student. After the exam, we see to it that the students meet the requirements of the company. So you have to know the company's profile, company's requirement, and match it up with the students' profile. And we do a lot of just-in-time sessions whereby we tell the students what are the expected questions, and we prepare them for the companies which are coming. So what colleges can do, they can prepare this, and it's easily available. Tell your chat GPT to prepare these questions and they will do that. Now things have become very, very simple. You can modify the questions according to your specialization and all. And really it will help in employability. Employability is something which each and every college, each and every MBA institute should do. And we have been doing that, taking 4,500 students in our 9 campus, and we do it regularly. So employability is very, very crucial. For that, you have to connect with the industry. This will not happen in a day. This will not happen in 3 months. You will have to take years. We have been there for more than 2 decades, and more than 1,000 companies visit us. We have 5 practicing manager sessions after every subject. So here you have to understand, industry has to be brought into academia. This is very, very crucial. And this is a point which one must remember, that unless you bring industry, the students will not get employment, and students, if they don't get employment, they will not be able to increase our GDP. So I always relate it to growth and see to it that the students get a good job. And we have been doing that for several years. So I thank you. I thank the speakers, Professor Samadar, Professor Subhanande, and thank you, Dr. Pragyan and Dr. Patro, and all those who have raised certain queries. And it was very, very interesting session, and I really liked it. I hope the session is recorded so that we can get a copy of that in future. Thank you. Wish you all the best.
Special thanks to Professor Ajay Pathak. Sir, thank you so much for summarizing the entire session. Thank you, Professor Patra. Thank you, Mr. Saroj Sahu, the RVP of Eastern Region. Thank you so much. It is for the information of all the participants who have joined here today that the next webinar is scheduled on Friday, that is September 5th at 11 a.m. The AIMS Western Region Gujarat chapter is hosting the webinar, and Dr. Subhodip Roy, Professor of IIM Ahmedabad, will be addressing on AI academic research, opportunities, tools, and ethics. Redefining research in the age of artificial intelligence. So all our participants can share this link to the research scholars as well as other friends and acquaintances, so that they get benefit out of this webinar series. Thank you so much. Yes.
Timing is same 3 p.m. Timing is same 3 p.m.
3 p.m. Okay, sir.
Yeah, for all the webinars, 3 p.m. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.